Alex. Hey, congratulations for All Jacked Up and Full of Worms.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Hey, not a problem, not a problem. This is one trip down a lane that most people probably can't come back, but where the original idea came from for this film.
Well, the idea came from like a not a great place in my personal life. I was going through like a mental break, and I wanted to capture the feeling of that, and I wanted to avoid, telling like a psychologically realistic story because that didn't feel very true to my experience. And yeah, so I wanted to show like the horror of it, but then also sort of the like totally absurd humor and the darkness, and then just the also sort of like searching for love and meaning in all of that sort of chaos.
So I guess you didn't get high in any certain way to in the making of this film.
Of the film, I mean, not in the traditional sense, no. High on life, maybe. I don't know. I mean, when you make like a no budget movie and you're not like sleeping very much, I think that's a certain kind of high,
Hmm.
And there's a high running around with your friends in the dark, you know.
Well, I guess that you're right. Then that's high on life. So tell me about the darkness that comes out of a film like this, through the suffering and mental illness.
Sure. You mean like what leads to it, or
Yeah.
when you say come out of it? Yeah. Well, you said the suffering? Is that what you mean?
Suffering and mental illness. That's
Yeah.
what I'm getting out of these type of characters that you portray in the film.
Right. Yeah. Well, so like when there's like sort of like paranoia and anxiety going on, I wanted to sort of reflect that in the characters and like what their goals are and what they're going through, and also like sort of like the hallucination that goes along with that stuff too. Where like time and space sort of get collapsed, and you know, I also wanted to capture sort of the like moral ambiguity of being put in those situations, and like just how like uh how trying that is, or how that tests you. Like we have Roscoe, who is like sort of he's searching for like realizing his full potential, and like like self-actualizing. Like he's on this sort of like almost, it gets deranged as he goes further in, and then we also conversely like interweaving it with Ben, who's like got these weird bad desires, and like how he's trying to like be a good person while confronting those. And
Hmm.
I think that both of those are relatable to anyone really. And that the part where it gets sort of extraordinary is when you put it through the sort of surreal horror lens.
Absolutely. I guess the biggest question that anyone would ever ask watching after watching your film is why worms?
Yeah, so why worms? I picked worms because like so I had all this chaotic material that I wanted to work with, and I thought that the worms would sort of ground us in genre and also help connect the movie with like a body horror thing. Like worms are like wet, wiggly. They kind of look like intestines. Like as you see at the end where everybody's sort of exploding with ooze and guts, like it's like people are sort of turning into worms, and the stuff that we're pulling out of them are worms. And so it's like an easy thing to sort of think as a alien in our bodies. Like you could sort of imagine it growing in there, and then also like um I just really like that they're a good visual metaphor to sort of ground us in horror, and then also comedy, just because they're like kind of silly, wet, little passive uh squiggly guys.
No, no, no one on your film really ingested any worms, right? No, no worms were harmed in the filming process.
Well, so every single worm was real that anyone ever did in the whole movie. It was that's all every worm was eaten and everybody got high off of them. Yeah. It's just the worms in the Midwest are really weird, you know. It's all this like, uh industry. There's a lot of stuff, weird stuff in the dirt.
Absolutely. Now, and what one of the things that you kudos to you is using practical effects throughout the from start to finish. Could you tell about the usage of practical effects and was who was behind the team of the practical effects? Was it just you, or you actually had a team?
No, well, so one of my longtime collaborators is this practical effects artist. His name is Ben Goger, and he and I have worked on movies before this. Before he's always, he's had like one or two effects. This one there's a lot more, and so it was like a collaboration between him and I to like come up with these. And he's like sort of like a you know his own mad scientist in his own way, where he'll go off and work on like those masks you see at the end, or like try to figure out how to like achieve all this stuff that was in the script. Um, yeah, I mean, I really love practical effects because it's like they're timeless. Like you use there's a lot of digital effects that don't. I feel like uh, they end up like looking fake pretty quickly, whereas like this is its own thing, and I feel like it's in line with the voice of the film and the genre, and like this whole like low budget, trashy movie thing that's going on here. Like I think that they kind of fit with the sort of the vibe of the film, and it's like almost an extension of the tone of it. So you're never like, oh, that worm king floating doesn't look real. Instead, you're like, oh, this is part of like the craziness and the hallucination of this movie.
Well, then let's talk about some of the practical effects that you actually use. Tell us about that floating worm and how you nailed down that final look of the floating worm, because that's stuff of nightmares. I have to admit.
Yeah, well, so that was like, I mean, that's a mold that Ben cooked up. Like I sent him a bunch of references from movies, like Brain Damage or Naked Lunch, and I had all this stuff. I think, and I needed the mouth to move, and then I think Ben took all of that into his heart and his head, and came back with this slug-like guy with tentacles. And then it was him and then a couple of other like puppeteers that he brought on to like make it sort of undulate in the sky and stuff. We like attached a bunch of like heavy gauge fishing line to it, and then set up these like C stands to just have it float, and then keyed out the background, and then to bring it in. Then there was like a whole other post process too of like then making it match the look of the rest of the movie, and then also transcend that too. Yeah, it was it that I mean that thing is really fun, and I like how it feels. So the words coming out of its mouth sound so surreal and powerful, and also kind of like mocking. It's
So
fun.
so who ended up voicing that worm for you?
Oh, that was my voice.
That was your voice.
Yeah, and then in sound design, turning it into, or yeah, it's on TV. It's on TV one time, and that's just me being like, you have to unlearn your shapes. And then um later when it's like that high pitched freaky thing, that's also me just sort of pitch shifted and modulated.
That's great. The other nightmarish construct that you created was the pleasure baby. I mean, I cannot get that image out of my head. I mean, if I close my eyes, I could still see that baby.
Yeah,
Tell us about that.
yeah. So the baby, yeah, it seems, yeah, the baby is sort of meant to live with you. Yeah, it's like so that was like the result of also again collaborating with Ben. Like he made that baby head. We went shopping for baby dolls to find um the right one. I think her name was Annabelle. I don't know. Anyways, we found the right dolls and we got a couple of them because we needed some like stunt dolls too because the baby gets like thrown around and drowns and stuff. So we and then he went into his shop again and like and made this head so that it would be more functional for what Benny needs, you know. And yeah, it's very fun finding the details in this baby are truly horrifying. And I mean that's one of the great things working with Ben is he'll internalize these needs, you know, that are in the script and take a lot of the like conversations that we have to heart and then come back with something, you know, totally uh you know that fits the bill in every way, you know.
Wow. And in all cases, you know, I want to say this is a true indie horror psychedelic film. Tell us about working on a low budget, you know, type of production, something like this. Does low budget actually help your creative process?
Yeah, I mean it's like I don't want to pretend like I had any other option, you know. Like it was low budget was the only. I mean, it was no budget basically. You know, it was like between you know the money that we went into it was just sort of pulled together from like you know like working on commercials and corporate gigs. You know, I'm like a sound guy by trade. I do some DIT stuff. I've sort of stopped doing that now, but like that was kind of what got this whole thing going. And then also like the other part of the no budget thing is having like a tribe of people, like a community of people in Chicago that are also like filmmakers in their own right and want to make weirdo, cool stuff that they're passionate about. You know, besides our like, you know, corporate day job stuff. So yeah, it was just like a collective passion, you know, like of getting behind this like, you know, cool, crazy idea and then and making it happen. But yes, do I think that if I had waited to like try to find a budget for this, if it would ever happen, I don't think so. No, I mean, I think especially not. This is my first feature, so not having made this, I think it would have been hard to get it made, to wait around and get it made. So, and I think that's the only way you make cool stuff is if you like actualize it. You know, you need support, you need your friends, and you know, unifying behind it and pushing it through, I think is the only way to make cool stuff. And then getting a bigger budget for the future, I don't know. The future will
So,
hold that's with that.
so if you did had a few like a bigger budget, would you change anything out of this film?
Um, no, well, so the process of making this movie was pretty intense, where it was like, you know, like we shot 9 days of this in March 2020, and then COVID happened. Basically, COVID landed in Chicago and totally shut down the whole thing. And so that was like halfway through production, and then we were shut down for like 6 months, and it was impossible to fly actors back. It was impossible to like quarantine them um, to like get the script as it was in March 2020. So there was a lot of rewriting and a lot of like running around on the fly to make this thing even happen, and a lot of just like pulling things together out of nowhere to like keep getting footage, to keep putting it together, to keep growing it into this. So like, you know, that made the whole movie really intentional and really of the time and really of its thing. So no, I wouldn't want to, basically I wouldn't want to change anything. And I can't even imagine what it would have been like to have like $1 million and, you know, like have a bunch of money to uh, put into it. I think it would have probably ended up, you know, the same crazy thing. Like you know, this is as intended, you know.
So it sounded like with the cast that you brought in, it was the normal process. It wasn't like using like locals and friends in a film like this.
But yeah, that's what it was. Yeah, it was using um yeah, the only people from out of town were Betsy Brown from New York and Philip Andre Patello from LA, who came on through like a casting process of like just reaching out to people, seeing who vibed with the script and who was down to like go for this on this crazy journey. Um, and then everyone else was from Chicago, who either I've worked with before or I just knew from the community. Like Trevor Dawkins, he plays Benny Boom. He was in the Neo Futurists, which is like this really cool theater company that's like a block away from my apartment. And they are always doing really adventurous stuff. They write their own plays. They try to do a bunch of them in an hour. And their stuff is always really like personal and weird and funny and sad all at the same time. So he was, he's always down for an artistic exploration, and same with like Carol is from Chicago. She plays Kelsey. She's the one who like grabs that clown guy by the ear and says, if you're mean to me, I'll find another clown king. Mike, that's the Clown King fellow. He's also in Chicago. He's done a bunch of indie stuff around here. He's really great. And yeah, all these people are like all artists in their own right and really great collaborators. Like they just bring so much to especially to something like this, which is just like a labor of love and like also it's like an all hands on deck type of thing to make it happen.
Yeah, I could tell everyone put their fullest into this film. So now you got this film out of the way. How was your overall experience making your feature film directorial debut?
The debuting of it was awesome. It was like I mean, like the making this movie was always sort of like a kamikaze effort, not like in a way where I'm gonna like I it's just more like it was like put everything into it, get it done because it was just really hard to do. I mean, making a no budget movie is basically impossible. I mean, I know making movies is really hard, so making one without any money and also in COVID is just crazy, I think. So making it was insanely hard, and I'm like now I'm addicted to it. Like it's all I ever want to do, and I think all the people that helped make it feel the same way. So the idea is to do more, and yeah, debuting it, taking it to like Fantasia, Fantastic Fest. It's in great festivals, internationally is like it's a dream come true. It's like not anything that I could ever expect. Like you can't even go into making something like this and expect to get anything out of it necessarily. So yeah, and then now to be on Screambox, to be picked up by Cinedigm it's like amazing. It's so cool.
That is really awesome. So what's next for you, Alex? Because it sounds like you're now addicted to this type of filmmaking.
Yeah, I'm addicted to worms. Yeah, yeah, so I have like another project that's gonna go next year, early in the year. So yeah, it's called Anything That Moves, and it's about this bike delivery dude who is like also a sex worker on the side. So he'll like deliver you your chicken wings and then also like whatever your desires are. And he's almost sort of like magically skilled at this. And it's sort of a beautiful thing until the beautiful dream turns into a nightmare where his clients start getting like murdered brutally, and he's got to figure out like is it one of his clients trying to like keep him to themselves? Is it someone from the outside? Like who's tearing apart this dream? And so yeah, it becomes sort of like on the run type of thing. So it's an erotic thriller. I want to pull other influences too from like the 70s Italian horror movies and so yeah, it should be fun. It's gonna be really weird and really fun and another adventure. So I'm really hyped to do it.
Well, you know what? I'm really excited. Hopefully you will do that, and I get to check it out, and we get to talk to you about this again. And before I leave, I want to comment. Your film, I like the film is because it reminds me of those old trauma films. I don't know if you're familiar with trauma films. and
Yeah, yeah.
James Gunn earlier work. So I have to say, keep this up. You know,
Oh yeah.
it's
Oh
terrific.
yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Tromeo and Juliet and Toxic Avenger. That stuff's cool. Yeah. Yeah, yeah, cool.
Well,
Thank you.
thank you very much, Alex. Hopefully, we get to do this again.
Yeah, I'd love to.
Thank you. Bye now.
Thanks.